My friends, people always say the world belongs to those with power. But that's not true anymore. The world now belongs to those with vision. And India just proved it. While America was busy playing the old game of control, India started building relationships. Not by force, not by fear, but by friendship in today's world. Success no longer belongs to the loudest voices or the biggest powers. It belongs to those who understand the art of collaboration. The future is being shaped not by those who compete to dominate, but by those who cooperate to create. India's recent move in Africa proves exactly that. While traditional superpowers like America focused on maintaining control and influence, India quietly focused on building partnerships that were rooted in trust, technology, and mutual growth. This is the smartest move of the century because collaboration is the new competition. When you make others win, you automatically position yourself to win bigger. Look at what India did. It didn't walk into Africa trying to lecture or dictate. It walked in ready to listen and learn. That is something the world is beginning to understand. The age of dominance is over, and the age of cooperation has begun. Africa doesn't need saviors, it needs partners. India understood that, and instead of treating Africa as a charity case, it treated it as a future powerhouse. It brought in technology, training, digital infrastructure, and investment that created jobs and startups. That's not aid, that's empowerment. And empowerment builds loyalty, not dependency. The greatest advantage India has today is emotional intelligence in diplomacy. It understands that when you help others grow, you create an unbreakable bond. Collaboration is not weakness, it is strategic strength. America, for decades, believed that control meant power. But India is showing the world that in the 21st century, connection means power. The one who connects the world wins the future. It's a simple truth we often ignore in business and life. When you build bridges, you expand your reach. When you build walls, you isolate your influence. Think about the entrepreneurs who build empires. They don't just sell products, they build communities. They don't chase customers, they create value. That's what India did in Africa. It didn't chase influence. It created value through innovation and inclusion. This is how smart nations act, by focusing on shared benefits instead of short-term control. And this same principle applies to individuals. If you want to build something lasting, stop competing to be better than others, start collaborating to be greater together. Because collaboration multiplies impact, while competition divides attention. India's strategies is like playing chess on a global board. While others were busy fighting over pieces, India built alliances that changed the entire game. That's vision. That's intelligence. And that's leadership. The beauty of collaboration is that it creates a cycle of continuous growth. Both sides rise. When India helps African entrepreneurs access digital tools, it creates new markets for its own technology. When Africa grows stronger, India's global reach grows with it. It's a win-win dynamic that no form of coercion can replicate. In the coming years, nations that master collaboration will lead the world. The ones that cling to old models of dominance will fade. India's message to the world is clear: success is not about having the biggest army or the deepest pockets, but about having the strongest network of trust. Collaboration creates influence that money can't buy and power can't force. It's not about who can win the battle. It's about who can win the relationship. Every entrepreneur, leader, and young dreamer should learn from this. If you want to build a lasting legacy, focus on helping others win. In the process, you will create something far more powerful than profit. You will create purpose. The future belongs to collaborators, not competitors. That's how India is redefining power. Not by outmuscling others, but by outsmarting them through partnership, empathy, and shared progress. And that, my friends, is the new way to win the world. In business and diplomacy, the most valuable investment is not money, it's relationships. You can build skyscrapers, you can own technology, you can even control markets, but if you fail to win people's trust, everything eventually collapses. That's the difference between what India is doing today and what America has done for decades. America invested in power, India invested in people. One built systems of control, the other built bridges of confidence. And in the end, trust always wins. Because money might open doors, but relationships keep them open. India saw what many others ignored. Africa doesn't just want deals, it wants dignity. For years, African nations have been treated as projects, not partners. Every time help arrived, it came with conditions. India changed that narrative. It came not as a teacher, but as a friend. It brought digital inclusion, educational exchanges, and joint ventures. Things that empowered local people to take charge of their own growth. That's what makes a relationship sustainable. You don't grow by giving people dependence. You grow by giving them confidence. When Jack Ma built Alibaba, he said, "We don't build for ourselves. We build for small businesses to grow." India is applying the same mindset on a national scale. By helping African entrepreneurs access technology and trade, India is creating a long-term foundation of mutual benefit. It's not charity, it's partnership. And partnerships are like trees. They grow stronger with time when rooted in sincerity. India didn't just sell products to Africa, it shared opportunities. That creates a bond that no amount of money can buy. Trust works like gravity, invisible but powerful. It holds relationships, economies, and nations together. When trust breaks, everything falls apart. For years, America believed that influence came from dominance. But in today's connected world, real influence comes from reliability. People remember those who show up not just in profit, but in crisis. India has been present in Africa in meaningful ways, providing vaccines during the pandemic, supporting education, and sharing digital expertise. These gestures may not grab headlines, but they build something far more powerful. Their emotional equity. Think about this in your own life. If you build your career chasing quick wins, you might earn fast money but lose long-term allies. But if you invest in genuine relationships, you build a foundation that supports you for life. The same rule applies to nations. America built influence with contracts. India is building influence with connections. One is transactional, the other transformational, and transformation always lasts longer. Africa today is one of the youngest continents in the world, full of energy, talent, and ambition. There, India saw that and decided to grow alongside it, not above it. When you see others not as competitors, but as co-creators, magic happens. The returns are not only economic, but human. India's investments are now paying off in loyalty, cooperation, and shared growth. The kind of dividends that can't be measured in dollars. In business, people buy from those they trust. In geopolitics, nations align with those they believe in. That's the quiet revolution India is leading. It understands that the most powerful nation is not the one that controls others, but the one that others willingly stand beside. Relationships outlast policies. They outlast crises. They outlast generations. When you build with trust, you build forever. This is the lesson for every young entrepreneur and leader watching this shift. Don't chase power, build relationships. Don't aim to impress, aim to connect. Because in the long run, relationships compound faster than interest. They create networks of opportunity, circles of loyalty, and ecosystems of support. That's what India has done with Africa, and that's why it's quietly outsmarting America, not through might, but through meaning. When the world starts to value relationships over resources, that's when true progress begins. Vision beats experience every time, because vision sees what experience often overlooks. Experience can make you wise, but it can also make you cautious, even blind to new opportunities. Vision, on the other hand, sees potential where others see problems. That's exactly what India did when it looked at Africa. Many powerful nations saw a continent filled with challenges, instability, and risk. India saw something different. It saw the future. And that is what separates leaders from followers, the courage to see what others can't. For decades, global powers treated Africa as a place of extraction, not expansion. They saw resources, not relationships. But India looked beyond the surface. It saw a continent of young innovators, rising entrepreneurs, and untapped potential. It understood that Africa's greatest resource isn't oil or minerals. It's its people. With 60% of its population under the age of 25, Africa represents the world's most energetic and ambitious generation. India saw that energy and moved fast to connect through technology, education, and entrepreneurship. That's not luck. That's vision in action. When Jack Ma started Alibaba, he didn't have the experience of running a global business. What he had was a vision to connect small businesses to the internet and to the world. People laughed at him. Experts said it would never work. But vision doesn't ask for permission, demands belief. India, too, has been underestimated by the global elite for decades. Yet, it kept believing in its long-term strategy, not to dominate, but to integrate. It knew that by partnering with Africa early, it could help shape the next wave of global growth. Experience tends to calculate risk. Vision calculates impact. America looked at Africa through the lens of risk, political instability, corruption, underdevelopment. India looked at it through the lens of possibility. A digital revolution waiting to happen, new markets ready to open. Millions of minds ready to learn and innovate. That's the difference between reacting and reimagining. You can't build the future by reacting to problems. You build it by reimagining solutions. Visionaries always play the long game. They understand that big change starts small. India didn't arrive in Africa with grand speeches or heavy contracts. It came with startups, affordable technology, and educational partnerships. It saw that one small app, one young entrepreneur, one micro business can ignite a chain of transformation across a continent. That's how sustainable success is built, one relationship, one idea, one shared dream at a time. Africa and India share a similar story. Both have faced colonization, both have fought for independence, and both understand what it means to start from the ground up. That shared history gives India a unique empathy, a deeper connection that others lack. And empathy is the foundation of vision. You can't predict the future if you don't understand people. India's approach was not to sell solutions, but to co-create them. It didn't bring arrogance. It brought understanding, and understanding creates trust faster than any policy ever can, in life and in business. The most successful people are those who see opportunity in chaos. When others complain about problems, visionaries quietly build solutions. That's exactly what India is doing in Africa, seeing what others can't see yet. While America debates strategies, India is already shaping realities. This is how the world is changing, not through power plays, but through vision-driven partnerships. Every entrepreneur, every leader, every dreamer should learn from this moment. You don't need to have all the experience in the world to make an impact. You need clarity, courage, and conviction. Vision is not about predicting the future, it's about creating it. India looked to Africa not with fear, but with faith. And that faith is now turning into influence, growth, and mutual respect. Experience teaches you what has been done. Vision shows you what's possible next. Those who understand that truth don't follow the future, they lead it. Technology has become the new language of power, the universal bridge connecting nations, businesses, and people. Those who understand how to use it not just for profit, but for purpose will lead the next century. India understood this truth early, and that's exactly how it connected with Africa. Not through military bases or political pressure, but through technology. While America's influence has often relied on force and finance, India's strength now comes from innovation. It's not sending tanks, it's sending tools. It's not exporting ideology, it's exporting ideas. That's the smartest form of diplomacy, building networks instead of empires. Africa, with its young population and rapidly growing digital ecosystem, represents the world's next great tech frontier. Many global powers underestimated this potential, but India didn't. It saw that the real power of the 21st century would not come from controlling resources, but from empowering people with access to digital platforms. It's the same principle Jack Ma used when he built Alibaba. Empower small players with technology, and you unlock massive economic transformation. India applied this model at a national scale. Through digital partnerships, fintech collaborations, and educational platforms, India is helping millions in Africa connect to the digital economy. What makes this so powerful is that technology doesn't just transfer knowledge. It transfers opportunity. India's investments in African tech startups, mobile banking systems, and e-learning programs are not just business ventures, they are bridges of empowerment. When a young entrepreneur in Kenya can use Indian fintech tools to receive payments, or a student in Nigeria can learn coding through an Indian online platform, that's not just progress. That's transformation in real time. India understood that whoever enables people to connect, learn, and create will shape the future. America's model of influence was built on control, owning the supply chains, setting the rules, and dictating the systems. India's model is built on cooperation, sharing systems, teaching skills, and creating access. This is why technology has become its most effective form of diplomacy. When you share innovation, you don't lose power, you multiply it. The more India shares its technology, the stronger its global influence becomes. And the beauty of it is that this influence is earned, not imposed. Technology is also the great equalizer. It doesn't care about borders, skin color, or economic status. It rewards creativity, curiosity, and courage. India and Africa both understand this because they've built their progress through resilience and resourcefulness. By linking African innovation with Indian technology, both regions are amplifying each other's strengths. This partnership isn't just economic, it's inspirational. It sends a clear message to the world that the global South can lead its own future, not follow someone else's script. What makes this shift truly exciting is that it represents a new kind of power. Soft power, built through smart connectivity. India's digital public infrastructure model, its fintech success stories like UPI, and its advancements in affordable digital education have become tools for collaboration across continents. These technologies are scalable, accessible, and deeply human-centered. They're not built for profit alone. They're built to solve real problems. And that's why they resonate with Africa, a continent full of young innovators who are hungry to create and change their societies. When you look at the bigger picture, India isn't just using technology to connect with Africa. It's using it to rewrite global dynamics. In a world where many nations still chase dominance, India is showing how digital diplomacy can win hearts and markets simultaneously. Technology is no longer just about devices and data, it's about dignity. When you give people the tools to grow, you give them the freedom to choose. And that freedom builds unshakable alliances. In every startup, every app, every innovation shared between India and Africa, there's a deeper story unfolding. One of empowerment, equality, and evolution. This is how the new world is being built, not with walls, but with Wi-Fi, not with control, but with connection. India's digital vision has turned technology into a form of trust. And that trust is the foundation of a more balanced, inclusive global future. The most powerful people in the world are not those who rush to win today, but those who quietly prepare to win tomorrow. The art of playing the long game has always separated the visionaries from the impatient. India's recent global strategy, especially its growing partnership with Africa, is a perfect example of this. While America often plays for quick political victories and quarterly advantages, India is building something that lasts: relationships, ecosystems, and trust. In a world obsessed with instant success, India's patience is its greatest weapon. Because true influence doesn't come from speed, it comes from staying power. When you look at the global stage, the difference in approach is striking. America's policies are often driven by short-term electoral cycles or economic numbers that need to impress investors. But India thinks in decades, not months. It doesn't chase applause, it builds alignment. This is exactly what Jack Ma meant when he said, "You can't build a business in one day. You build it for 10 years, and then the world notices." India has adopted that same philosophy in diplomacy. While others try to dominate today's headlines, India is preparing to lead tomorrow's story. Africa is central to that vision. Instead of rushing into the continent with massive promises and aggressive conditions, India took a slow, steady approach, one that values partnership over power. It invested in education, digital infrastructure, and renewable energy. It focused on people before profit, because India understands that trust grows like a tree. You water it, nurture it, and wait. You cannot rush it. but once it takes root, it can weather any storm. That's what India is doing, planting seeds of collaboration that will mature into forests of opportunity. The beauty of playing the long game is that it allows for adaptability. While short-term thinkers panic at every crisis, long-term players adjust, learn, and grow stronger. India's rise in global diplomacy didn't happen overnight. It took years of building credibility, consistency, and competence. It took countless small steps. Trade missions, scholarships, startup collaborations that slowly built a foundation no one could see until it became undeniable. That's how real success works. It doesn't arrive with noise, it grows in silence. In business, those who focus only on quarterly profits often miss the chance to build sustainable value. The same is true in geopolitics. America's short-term focus often led to broken alliances and mistrust. India's patience, however, is creating lasting loyalty. Africa can see that India is not there to extract, but to empower. It's not promising miracles. It's delivering progress, piece by piece. And that steady consistency is far more powerful than any dramatic deal or flashy summit. Patience in leadership is not weakness, it's discipline. It means resisting the temptation of immediate gratification for the sake of enduring impact. When you look at India's approach to Africa, you see a quiet confidence, an understanding that the greatest returns come from the deepest commitments. Every digital partnership, every student exchange, every co-created innovation is part of a long-term vision. India isn't just trading with Africa, it's growing with Africa. And that shared journey builds a bond far stronger than any contract ever could. Playing the long game also means believing in the process even when the results are invisible. It's about faith. Faith that what you're building will one day matter. That's what separates true leaders from opportunists. The opportunist chases attention. The leader cultivates purpose. India is showing that leadership isn't about speed but direction. It's about seeing far, moving steadily, and never losing focus on the bigger picture. Time always reveals the difference between ambition and wisdom. America's impatience has often led to frustration. India's patience is now leading to transformation. The world is changing, and the ones who endure are the ones who prepare quietly, persistently, and purposefully. The lesson is timeless. Whether you're building a business, a career, or a nation, never trade long-term vision for short-term validation. Because the future doesn't belong to those who move fast. It belongs to those who move with purpose and never stop moving forward. The smartest move any nation or individual can make is not to dominate others, but to empower them. That simple truth has always defined the most lasting forms of leadership. Power that is shared grows stronger. Power that is hoarded fades away. India's strategy in Africa is built on this very philosophy. The idea that helping others succeed is the fastest way to create sustainable influence. In a world where most countries chase control, India is building a legacy through contribution. It's not telling Africa what to do, it's helping Africa discover what it can do. That's a profound difference. And that's why it works. When you empower others, you don't lose your place. You multiply your presence. India understood that the best partnerships are those where both sides rise. By investing in African startups, supporting digital transformation, and providing educational and healthcare collaborations, India is not seeking gratitude. It's building capacity. Empowerment creates independence, and independence builds respect. Africa doesn't want pity or charity. It wants partnership. And India, having walked a similar path of development and struggle, knows how to stand beside, not above. That empathy makes its influence more genuine and its presence more welcome. Empowerment also creates loyalty. People never forget those who gave them a chance when no one else believed in them. The same is true for nations. When you lift someone up, instead of looking down on them, you create a bond that outlives policies and governments. India's efforts in Africa are not about competition. They're about collaboration. It's not racing against America. It's racing with Africa towards shared growth. That mindset is what turns simple cooperation into long-term friendship. There's a story in every village. Every startup, every young African entrepreneur who's been given access to new tools, markets, and education through Indian collaboration. A generation ago, these young minds might have been cut off from opportunity. Today they are connected, building apps, solving local problems, and joining the global economy. And every success story becomes a bridge back to India. This is the new kind of diplomacy, one built not on pressure but on potential. When you help people write their own stories, you become part of their journey forever. Jack Ma often said that the best leaders are those who make others more capable than themselves. That's exactly what India is doing. It's not about being the hero of the story. It's about helping others become heroes in their own. America, for decades, tried to lead through power. India is leading through partnership. Power fades the moment you stop forcing it. Partnership grows even when you're not watching. That's why empowerment is the most intelligent form of influence. It doesn't need to be demanded. It's naturally respected. Empowering others also creates an ecosystem that feeds back into your own growth. When Africa's economies thrive, India's trade grows. When Africa's digital revolution expands, Indian technology companies find new markets. When African students trained in Indian universities return home, they become ambassadors of goodwill. Every act of empowerment becomes a seed of opportunity that eventually returns multiplied. It's not a one-way transaction, it's a circle of progress. That's how true growth works. By giving first and receiving later, not the other way around. In business, the smartest leaders hire people smarter than themselves. In diplomacy, the smartest nations create partners capable of standing on their own. Because when others grow, they pull you forward too. India understands this principle deeply, the same way it understood that empowering small businesses and entrepreneurs at home could transform its own economy. Now, it's applying that same logic globally. By empowering Africa, India is not just helping another continent rise. It's helping redefine what leadership looks like in the 21st century. The old idea of power was about control, keeping others dependent to maintain dominance. The new idea of power is about empowerment, giving others the tools to thrive, so that together you can shape a stronger, more balanced world. India's approach is quietly proving that when you create opportunities for others, you don't diminish your influence, you expand it. Because empowerment builds something that money, weapons, or politics never can: genuine trust. And in a world where trust is the rarest currency, the one who helps others rise will always rise the highest.